Welcome back to another episode of the Hall of Fame podcast. And today we have Milan on the podcast, who's been a member of ours since November. Am I right in thinking?
Yeah, November, October, somewhere around there.
October, November. It's around that marker.
Yeah.
She lives over in the sunny Miami, which I'm very jealous of. And she's had an incredible journey from a muscle tissue gaining phase, fat loss phase, but also, I suppose we can maybe call it like a journey of self-discovery, right? And I thought you
Mhm.
have so much value to share, and that's why we'll jump you on. So welcome.
Well, thank you. I feel honored that you're picking me to be on your podcast.
Well, you've
And I've
crushed
never
it.
been on a podcast before, so this is definitely ticking that off the bucket list for me.
Of the bucket list, I love it. First question, probably the most important one. What's the weather today in Miami?
Uh, Humid, hot, sweaty, probably 90 something degrees out. It's not a fun time right now, so.
Do you know what? It blows my mind. Whenever I speak to somebody who lives in a hot country and they go, oh, yeah, no, it's no good. It's really hot. And I think, oh, that'll be a dream. And it's summer here in London and it's pissing down with rain. But conversation for another time. So I think it'd be good for us to start with actually how we met. Because it was quite a funny story, right? So I'll let you tell the
Right.
story. So I say it's not that funny, but it was a different scenario, we'll call it. So I'll let you set the stage. How did we first come
Yeah.
across each other, then obviously coming towards the program?
Well, yeah, we were both part of Vince Del Monte's fitness coaching program, right?
Yeah,
For trainers. And so there was this mastermind event and in Nashville. So we met there.
absolutely.
Um, and it was a blast. It was fun. I met so many fun people, Reese included. So,
Yeah, it was incredible. It was a funny one because obviously I know we met at the actual event, and then obviously going out to Broadway after the first
right.
like I suppose proper conversation was both pretty drunk. So like
Yeah,
it's
I
like how do you meet a
honestly I
coach? Well, I was
can't, and I
both
was
drunk
trying to
on
remember
on
like
Broadway.
how did we meet? Like what was
So I do
I
remember
know
like we spoke at the event, but it was only like in passing, like like 20,
right.
30
Yeah.
seconds. And I think the first time we had an actual conversation was talking about coaching or something. It was when we was drunk in a bar in Nashville. And it was quite an
Yeah.
interesting one. So when you go, oh, how did you first meet your coach? Oh yeah, well actually was fist in a bar
Right.
on Broadway. But it was brilliant. It was a really good time because, a bunch of fitness people that actually let their hair down and go loose a little bit, which was interesting. And
Right. I know. I hadn't drank that much in a long time, so it's just
no, me
ironic.
neither. Yeah, me. I mean, I don't really drink at all, so it was. But I suppose when you're in Nashville on Broadway, right, you kind of got you've got
Yeah,
to
when in
embrace the
Rome.
the place you are in, otherwise you'll probably regret it down the line. But during the program, what was it? About a month later.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
So was it about a month later that you started working with us on the program?
Yeah, yeah, because that was October, right, that we went. Um, or September, I forget. But yeah, it was definitely like a month and a half
Yeah.
later that
If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it was early October. And I remember we had a chat around that time anyway. But what was it that made you go, right, I want to join the team? What was that kind of, spark that made you go, actually, do you know what? I'm, in the world of fitness anyway,
Mhm.
but I want to coach, right? Because you have the education and so forth. But what made you go, right, this sounds like it's a good idea for me to do?
Yeah, good question. I think at the time I was a part of a CrossFit gym and which I CrossFit's super fun. I have a competitive side to me, so I really loved, that element of it, and just the community aspect and pushing yourself to the limit. But I was getting very burned out on that type of training, and it wasn't really in line with like aesthetically what I wanted to achieve because it's very upper body heavy, and I'm somebody, at least from my perspective, I just didn't need to build any more upper body muscle. I really was wanting and desiring to kind of focus more on the lower body, strengthen my glutes, quads, hammies, like pretty much everything. And CrossFit doesn't really help you do that.
No,
So I was just,
absolutely.
so from an aesthetic standpoint, I wasn't doing what I needed to do to get the results that I wanted. And then I was also just physically burned out and just like mentally burned out because the workouts are intense, and I just felt stressed out a lot of the time, and I just needed to take a step back from that. So that was one part. And then I've never had a coach before, I've never been on the other side of things. And so I was, from one standpoint, just curious, like what that relationship would look like on the other side, because I've done a little bit of coaching myself, and I've, had clients, but I was like curious what it would be like to be a
In the client's
client.
shoes, yeah.
And just kind of, I know from an education standpoint, like how to make a decent program, and just intuitively have always known how to work out, and how to build a program that's in line with my goals. But I was just curious to see what somebody else would program for me, and
Absolutely.
I think with the goals that I had, I felt like I wanted more accountability, and so I wanted that aspect too. And I had never really been in a growing phase before. Like I've always
Yeah.
either been dieting or trying to maintain. So when with the goal that I had of like wanting to build my lower body more, well, that requires you to have more of a plan. And I just wasn't really sure how to approach that, and I just wanted some help. So that
Absolutely.
really kind of is, in a nutshell, like what prompted me to join your program.
Absolutely. And to be fair, you came in right away, 100 miles an hour. Like it was almost like there's
Yeah.
no time to waste. I'm getting to this thing, right? And
Right. And I think it was also, I just, having a goal is really exciting, right? When you
yeah,
are, I felt like I was also in this kind of in between where I wasn't really working towards anything. And so it's just when you have a goal and you're starting a new program, it's fun and exciting and it's fresh. And it just, yeah, I had this new energy to just like work hard, and I was excited.
absolutely.
So.
Do you find it almost gave you a bit of a knock-on effect from like a career perspective? Like when you have that new goal, you got that new excitement, you got that novelty effect there, and you almost think, wow, I just want to run through a brick wall. Did you find that almost crossed over to career as well?
Yes, for sure. Are you saying like from a trainer
I
standpoint?
suppose just in general, like
Yeah.
from obviously the business perspective, but also just from like career. And I know we obviously touched on just before we hit record on this thing as well about a new journey you're embarking on, which we'll come on to soon as well. So do you almost feel like it
Yeah.
gave you that fire in the belly from like a
No, for
life perspective?
sure. For sure. It did give me that just kind of sense of purpose, right? When you have a goal, you feel like you have more of a purpose, right? So
Yeah,
having that, working towards something, pursuing something, it really, it made me feel alive in a way, right? Just because I was
absolutely.
kind of feeling like I was in this um, kind of stagnant state where, especially with my job, my day job, and not only from like a fitness standpoint, but just having that element of like, oh, at least I have a goal now. I'm working toward, my fitness goal. But it does, now that I'm working towards a career goal too, it's like, yeah, I have the sparks again, the excitement, like
Yeah,
I'm pursuing something. So, um, I think it really did kind of spark that feeling of like, oh, I want to feel this more, and I like having
absolutely.
a goal to work towards, whether it's fitness or career. Um, it's just, it keeps you going, it like, it's something
Absolutely.
to live for.
No, 100%. And, I'm curious as well because I know, it's same for men, but I know it's more in particular for women. And I know we have all the education. How did we feel going into a gaining phase? Because I know it's, I suppose, intimidating territory, right? Like, I've seen it so
Yeah,
many
it was
times
for
with women
sure.
where, you know, losing weight and dieting's a comfortable phase, but gaining muscle can sometimes be a bit scary. What were your
Yeah.
initial thoughts before we, started going down a muscle gaining phase?
Yeah, well, I mean, before starting it, like the idea of it was exciting. Like I wasn't nervous about it, but then once you're in it and you start seeing the changes after a while, like your body changing, and obviously it was exciting, like, oh, this is what I wanted. I'm building muscle and I'm getting stronger, and it was like fun hitting those PBs and um, pushing more weight and everything, but that also means your like the scale weight is going up
Yeah,
too.
of course.
And so I felt like I was mentally resisting that for a
Yeah.
while. And I eventually got more comfortable with it. Um, but I will say, like, that's something, yeah, especially being a woman, the idea of gaining weight and I've never like sought out to gain weight before, right? It's
Yeah,
like it's always,
absolutely.
oh, I need to lose weight, or I'm trying not to gain weight at all. So it was just, I had to shift, I had to have like a mental
Mindset
shift,
shift, yeah.
a mindset shift in order to do that. And I will say, like, it was fine for a while, but at a certain point it was bothering me. Like, I didn't,
Yeah, of course.
I'm sure we didn't, I guess reach that point that we were hoping for, I guess, where it's like, oh, let's, or I guess like I put a stop to it sooner
Yeah,
than
yeah, yeah,
I
of
should
course,
have,
yeah.
just because I was uncomfortable with it. But I did feel like, I grew a lot mentally through that phase,
Yeah,
and you learn a lot about your body and how
of course.
it's like gaining weight, especially if it's muscle and you're doing it healthfully. Like it can be a positive thing, like it's a good thing, and I
100%,
think
yeah.
a lot more women should be thinking like that,
Absolutely.
because if you're doing it right, if you're working out, your strength training, you're eating nutritious food, like muscle is really important for longevity,
Massively.
not just from like
Yeah.
a aesthetic standpoint. So kind of reframing how you see weight gain. Like obviously not all weight gain is good, right? If
Yeah,
we're
yeah, no,
talking about
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, of
muscle gain
course.
though, that's different. So I know I went all over the place with that, but
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like it is, I still remember, right? I think that's probably maybe one of the reasons you thought, right, let me go into the client's shoes, right? Because it is a mentally challenged place to be, right? Even sometimes when I do it, it's like I don't want to lose my abs, like I don't want to do this thing.
yeah,
But
yeah.
sometimes you do need to hype yourself up and go, okay, I'm just gonna, I need to do it for the bigger picture. And I think with us, when we done it, like we gained so much muscle in a short period of time. And I think because you have been in a dieting phase or a maintenance phase for such a long period of time, you were insanely responsive to growing muscle. So I think it got to
Mhm.
that point for you, tell me if I'm wrong, where you thought, right, although I know I still have muscle I could gain, if that's how we feel internally, but you got to that point where you're just like, right, I've gained a lot of muscle, my body was extremely responsive. I'm now happy to kind of strip back down and go back into a dieting phase because I feel like I've got what I needed out of a muscle building phase. I've
Mhm.
given that go a go. I'm stronger, I'm more resilient, and I've learned a lot more. So I'm comfortable to now peel back out and go back into a dieting phase. Was that almost how the mindset was at the time?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it for sure. Yeah, it was like I definitely think I needed to experience that for myself, and I think being in a deficit for so long, even if I was not even aware of it necessarily, right? But like I was burning a lot more calories than I thought with the CrossFit, and then being a
Absolutely.
little too um, probably restrictive from a food perspective as well. Like you're just kind of in this deficit for a while, going in and out, obviously. Like I wasn't
Yeah.
consistently losing weight, but I got to a place where, you know, it was time to start like putting
New
more tissue
journey.
on my body, and I noticed my sleep improved, like my just functioning day to day improved a lot. So it can definitely be necessary. Um, yeah, so that's what
I think
I'll
also
say on
from a
that.
health perspective as well, I think there's two things that people don't quite consider when it comes to a bit more of a maintenance slash gaining phase. Number one is health, right? It's giving your body the nutrients it needs to live, to survive,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you touched on really well, longevity. Just being able to have strong muscles, strong joints, bone density, and so forth. But
Right.
also to be more responsive in a fat loss phase, you want to not be in a fat loss phase for too long, right? So where you've been
Right.
in a deficit for so long, you've been in maintenance for so long, you're just kind of in and around those two for years. Us taking you into a muscle building phase, growing the glutes, and then bringing you back into a deficit, again, you were super responsive. You were responsive to
Mm-hmm.
gain muscle because it was a new
Yeah,
phase for
like I'll
us.
just say when we did start the dieting phase, I felt like the weight just like fell off. So that's another
Absolutely.
thing, not being afraid of going into a growing phase, knowing that it's temporary, right? So just another thing, reminding yourself this isn't me, this isn't my body forever. I'm doing this for
Absolutely.
a purpose, a set amount of time. And I do wish I would have like reminded myself of that more because I did kind of eventually let that fear or that being uncomfortable with the process,
Yeah, of
get the
course.
best of me. So I probably could have, going back, like I probably would have wanted to extend it a little bit longer.
Yeah, yeah.
Just knowing, okay, I didn't realize the weight would just fall off so quickly, right? You don't think about it. And being so I didn't even really have to try that hard in the beginning. Now it's like, now my body is fighting it a little bit, like I can
Of
feel
course.
it. But like if I could see myself doing it over again, I guess, and like
Yeah,
next time I'd probably stretch it out longer and not be so afraid, right? Because you
absolutely.
can change like that, and your body is, when you do go through that kind of phase, your body really is primed at that point to lose
100%.
fat almost effortlessly. So,
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we done. We literally lost fat
yeah,
effortlessly. It just fell off us, right? And like you say,
right.
didn't have to do an awful lot. It just fell off us. And oftentimes when we have women come into the program, if they want to lose body fat, we often increase their calories. So you want to
Mm-hmm.
lose fat, right? Let's eat more. What, race eat more? Are you
I know, it's like,
joking?
what?
Eat more? It's like, yeah, if you want to support your metabolism, fucking retain your muscle tissue and actually burn fat faster, absolutely. And I think you're a massive testament to that. And, that's not taken away from the fact that you were working your ass off as well. Like, it's not like you just went, oh, I changed my face and it just fell off me. Like, you were going
Right.
to the
No,
gym,
I was
pushing yourself,
definitely,
and
you have to put in the work for sure.
absolutely.
The effort has to be there. But um, yeah, ultimately it was a lot easier than it's been in the past. Let's just say
Of
that.
course.
So,
And I think that's an important thing to bear in mind as well. Like you say, if you wanted to go into a muscle tissue building phase, people are often scared because they think if I gain fat in this phase, it means the fat's there to stay. And it's like,
mhm.
okay, if we go through a muscle building phase and you gain a little bit of body fat, which for most people is kind of natural, right? Like, I would love to sit here and go, like, even a lean gaining phase, you'll gain a small, small, small amount of body fat. And it would be beautiful if you didn't. But unfortunately, it's just the way the body works,
Right.
right?
It's just biology.
It's just biology, exactly. But if you then look on the reverse of it, it's like, okay, if we gain a little bit, we'll spend a couple of weeks after shredding it back off. Like you can lose it a hell of a lot faster than it took. Like if you was in a gaining phase for 6 months, the body fat you gained, you could probably lose in two after.
Hmm.
So it's like it can be intimidating, but then looking at the bigger picture to go, okay, if I do that, I gain loads of muscle, then I just do 2 months of dieting after, lose the muscle, lose the body fat that I gained, and then be in the same body fat levels as now, just with a lot more muscle. It's not a bad exchange, right?
No, it's really not. It's
Absolutely. So
worth
I
it
think
in the end.
it is worth it in the end. But I suppose something that'd be really good to kind of go into just for those listening, especially the women that are thinking, actually, do you know what? I would love to do that, but I still can't beat that mental battle in increasing my food and actually trying to gain muscle and put myself in a position to do so. What was it that you kind of either said to yourself or what made you feel more comfortable? Because I know we got to that point where it obviously became where it's like, right, I've done my phase, I've got what I needed out of it, now I want to go back into dieting. But for you to go, right, I'm going to give this a go at the beginning, what did you kind of say to yourself? What was it that made you go, this isn't, I'm going to do it. It's not as comfortable, I think, I'm going to give it a go.
Yeah, no, good question. I think when you really just ask yourself, it comes down to what your goals are,
Yeah.
and it's like, am I able to achieve this without doing this? And for somebody who's just starting to work out, like if they're an absolute newbie, yes, like you don't technically have to go into a growing phase, like your body is just going to make those changes
Yeah.
a lot easier than somebody like me who has been strength training for
Competed
over a
in the
decade
past.
now. Like my
Yeah.
body, I'm just not going to see the changes that I want without doing something like this. And
Absolutely.
so, really kind of breaking it down like that and then looking at the big picture, saying, okay, and you laying it out for me, right? Having a coach laying out the process really made it easier to digest and accept, and a lot less scary when you have the roadmap, right? Okay, this is how long we're going to do this. There's a start date and an end date, so just know that it's not forever.
100%.
Reminding yourself that is huge, and that's what helped me just say, let's do it. Is like, okay,
Absolutely.
this is for from A to B, this is how long it's going to be, and then we're going into a shredding phase. So having like that roadmap really helped, even though I feel like I wasn't able to completely get through without, I stopped it prematurely, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
still, I would not have been able to do it myself, right? If I
Absolutely.
tried to do this myself, even though I could have, right? I have the knowledge, I
Absolutely.
have the experience. Um, it really helped having somebody like in my corner, keeping me accountable, reminding me of these things that this is temporary. You just got to do it. Like that really helped a lot, having
Of
you as a
course.
coach, like go through it with me.
Absolutely. And out of curiosity for those listening, how valuable was it to have because I suppose it can be overwhelmed, not overwhelming in regards to like information, because like I say, you know exactly what to do. But I suppose when you look at mental capacity as well, when you're obviously doing the coaching, then you had career, then obviously social life, normal stuff, and then
Mhm.
the kind of mental capacity to go, this is a scary phase. How valuable was it for you personally to remove overwhelm and remove the thinking? So all you've got to do is just
Show
action.
up.
Just show up. Exactly. How was that for
That,
you?
yeah, no, that is absolutely, that was huge for me because when you are, and there are busier people out there than me, I know it, you know, so having all that stress and overwhelm taken away so that you can just do the thing and not have to think about it. Like, I mean, of course, that was a big deal for me. Um, but yeah, for somebody who is busier, who doesn't have the expertise, like who, like that, of course, that guidance is going to be huge.
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, like nobody has the time to sit down and make a plan for themselves, one that's going to work. And especially if it's something like this, where it's like something you've never done before, you're just, it's better to have somebody to just do it for you, keep you accountable.
Yeah,
You're going to achieve it a lot quicker too.
absolutely. And I suppose something that's important to mention is what a lot of people do is they make changes based on emotion as opposed to logistics. So
Hmm.
sometimes if we create our own plan, we then go, oh, I'm going to make a change to this plan based on how we feel, not
Hmm.
based on logistically what's actually the best thing. So do you feel like if, for instance, you made your own plan, maybe we would have stopped the muscle building phase a lot earlier due to emotion as opposed to when we
I
did,
mean,
which was more logic?
it probably wouldn't have even started.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think I really, for this goal, like, because I can put myself through a diet, and I know everybody's
Yeah.
different. Some people, like, when it comes to dieting, they would get the most val. That's when they would get the most value out of a
Yeah.
coach. But for me, like, because I've dieted, I've always, that's all I've done is either dieted or been in a maintenance phase. So this was uncharted territory for me.
Yeah.
So having somebody guide me through it, like, and I'm sorry, I forget like what the question was. I'm
So
going
it's
on a
just talking about the
tangent.
value behind looking at it without the emotion and more
Oh, the,
logically.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that for yeah, like I was saying, I probably based on emotion, I wouldn't even have started. And then if I did, let's say I did start it, I mean, there were a lot of times during the process with you where I wanted to stop it, and
Yeah, of course.
you kind of put me back into that mindset, looking at the big picture. So yeah, I certainly would not have been able to see it through if I had done it myself.
Absolutely. So on that then, what kind of results have you seen being on the program?
In the like what results? Sorry,
Have we seen since working together? What kind of results have we seen?
I mean, yeah, I've seen amazing results. Like, I've seen all the changes that I've wanted to. I've just noticed a lot more definition in my legs and my glutes. Um, Part of my goal was to also decrease the upper body, heaviness. So I've definitely achieved like the aesthetic goals that I was looking for. So.
Absolutely. And out of curiosity, being about a 9, 10 hour flight away, what made you join Smart Body Performance? There's millions of coaches in the world. What made you feel like this was the right place for it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, part of it was I met you in person, right? So
Yeah,
we already had that trust and that relationship
absolutely.
going. So, um, you know, I think that was played a major
Yeah.
part in me joining. But, I mean, I follow your page too. And I mean, it's like everything that you're putting out there is so educational, and you have this huge community. You have so many resources available to your clients that I mean, I was really blown away actually by like everything that you had to offer. So I think the community aspect is huge, and just the resources you have available, and yeah, like what you guys are doing. So
I think moral of the story is if anyone wants to find a coach, go get drunk on Nashville Broadway.
right.
You might find one. That's the moral of the story.
Because I
But
don't think, I don't think if I hadn't met you, I'm not sure that I would have ever had the experience of hiring a coach.
yeah,
So something about because you presented a little bit at the master class too
yeah.
about like your company and what you offered, and your program, and it really did. I mean, it drew me in for sure. So,
Absolutely. Oh, that's really nice to hear. And I think one of the most important things for us is community. It's one of those where, although, you go to the gym, there's a community there and, you're very strong minded. It's just nice to be a part of a group of people that are kind of in the same shoes, just looking to fucking smash it. So you just kind of,
mhm.
because sometimes the transformation journey can feel lonely. So sometimes it's just nice to have people that are either in a similar phase to you that might have been a little bit scary before, or maybe like the whole gym environment is an intimidating place to be, but then it also is for X, Y, and Z person that you can see in the chat. It's like, right, they're the same as me.
Mhm.
They can do it. Maybe I
Mhm.
can as well. And it just almost gives you that lift and that self belief. And I think that's the same reason we went to the event in Nashville in the first place, right? To be in a room full of people on a similar
Yeah,
page, doing similar things,
exactly.
you
It's
know?
the same idea. And just also the fact that I'm saying, and I'm not like saying, oh, I'm a trainer myself, so I don't need a coach kind of a thing. But that was
Yeah,
kind of my um, attitude for a while. And now having hired you as a coach and like going through that process, and me seeing the value as somebody who
absolutely.
has their personal trainer certification, has had clients, knows how to eat, knows how to train, and that I still found a ton of value in it.
Absolutely.
I just if you look at a person who is newer to the gym, who doesn't have that experience, maybe they haven't lifted weights before. I mean, it's even more valuable for
Couldn't agree
someone
more.
like
Yeah.
that. So,
Absolutely. And I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think for coaches in particular, I would even say there's a lot of opportunity for it to be even more valuable as well. I mean, like, I've had a coach since I was 18 years old, I think. I still have one to this day, and I'll never not have one. I
mhm.
see so much value in being a coach, but always having one. because I
Mm-hmm.
know for me, my emotion can oftentimes dictate whether I decide to go to the gym or not. So, to give you an example,
Mm-hmm.
if I've got a busy day on my hands and I know there's a lot of clients or things I want to do to grow smart body performance or help people more or build out more resources, I will prioritize that over my gym session because it's just like I want to put that first. I want to put other people first. So for me, having a coach is going, well, in the long term, that's going to fuck you up because if your energy is shot, your confidence is shot, how are you really going to pour from an empty glass? So for me, I see so much value in someone going, no, you need to prioritize you to be able to prioritize other people. So I need
Mm-hmm.
that in my corner because I know I won't prioritize me all the time. And I'll make sure that, well, sometimes I can, but other times if I've got one of those days, I'm thinking, head down, let me crack on. When I know I should be thinking, make time for the gym, it's going to make you feel better. So I totally
Exactly.
agree with you. It doesn't matter how professional or educated somebody is. It's like if you look at Chris Bumstead, arguably one of the best physique competitors of the generation. Does he have a coach? Of course he fucking does. Does he know what he needs to do? Of course he fucking does. But he has one anyway, right? So, well, you would hope he knows what to do, but he has one anyway, right? So I couldn't agree with you more. That's a really, really powerful point. So coming towards the back end of this end, what kind of words of wisdom, last words of wisdom would you say to either a fitness coach is thinking, yeah, do you know what? Maybe I should give this a go. Or if even if it's just somebody thinking, this whole world of trying something new is scary, right? Because whether that's I haven't tried a coach, I want to get in shape, that and I want to lose fat, let's say, that's new territory. Or if it's like the position you was in where you want to gain muscle, it's new territory. What would you say
Mm-hmm.
to somebody who's intimidated and scared about going into new territory and trying something new? What's your words of wisdom?
Well, that's a great question. I think that, I mean, anytime you try something new or get outside of your comfort zone, like that's going to be a scary experience, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm special for that. I'm somebody who loves to stay in my bubble and I like what's comfortable, but I'm also not happy with myself when I do that, right? And growth doesn't happen when you're comfortable. The change
Absolutely.
happens when you're trying something new, you're stretching yourself, you're learning new things. Like that's the only way that you're going to grow as a person and achieve really anything worth having in life, whether it's a career change or, your dream body. Like the fact is if you're struggling and you don't know what to do, but you're afraid, like if, those are all normal emotions to be scared and afraid and intimidated and what if it doesn't work, and it's like, well, you don't know unless you try, and you certainly don't have all the answers yourself, so just take a chance, right? And hire a coach, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, and you're still going to take something from that experience though,
Absolutely.
so that's how I really am trying to approach things now is, even the master class that we went to, right? It's like that was stepping out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, of
Is and
course.
but I found a great coach out of that experience, and so um, yeah, really, that's where the change happens is when you're uncomfortable. So get comfortable being uncomfortable.
That was fucking powerful. That was
Thank you.
really, really, really powerful. I think those who are listening to this at the moment is probably rewinded that. If you haven't, rewind it 30 seconds and re-listen to that. And anytime you feel like you need a bit more inspiration and motivation, rewind it again and listen to it again. That was really powerful because you're so right. Like the growth, as much as we love it to happen, the growth doesn't happen when you just stay comfortable, right? And
Hmm.
don't get me wrong, it will get to a point on the transformation journey where it does become quote unquote second nature and maybe a little bit more comfortable. But
Hmm.
if you're working out, it's not always a comfortable place to be. If you're pushing, let's say, progressive overload, you're trying to get stronger, it's not comfortable. You're gonna fucking hurt. Like the whole
Exactly.
point of it is to
Yeah.
maybe hurt a little bit, or of a diet, to be a little bit hungry, or in a growing phase, to push past a mental barrier that "Oh, I don't really want to eat more for them. I'm scared. It's not comfortable, but like you said there as well, it's the same in every kind of sector of your life, right? Within
Hmm.
career, like going to get a promotion and having new responsibilities, intimidating. Or at that national event for me, standing up in front of a room full of, X amount of, 100 of coaches and talking about my program. bit of a weird experience, bit of an intimidating experience. But, you know, if I just sat there, I wouldn't have grown, right? But now on the back end, it's like, okay, cool, I've got a new experience. I've learned something new, right? So I could not
Exactly.
agree with you more.
And then just on that, when you do those things, right? Let's say you're on the fence of hiring a coach and you hire a coach, it's uncomfortable, it's scary, but making that decision can have like a domino effect on the rest of your life where it's like, oh,
Absolutely.
well, if I can do this, I can do something else that's scary and makes me uncomfortable because you see so much
Absolutely.
growth out of that first decision you made, right? So
100%.
I think it really can have a ripple effect on the rest of your life by making scarier decisions in the future is going to be easier, right? And eventually you're just going to start doing it more and more, and then your life is going to completely change.
Dropping some knowledge bombs. Love it. Yeah, but you're so right. Like, it's like you'll probably remember Gavin McKell. I'm pretty sure he spoke at Nashville, but like
Hmm.
he said it on a podcast he was on. It was like two and a half years ago maybe. When he's on this podcast, and he said it's all about finding evidence, right? So if you go into a situation you feel a little bit unconfident in or a little bit uncomfortable in, it's like, right, do I have evidence of myself doing something that I was not comfortable with in the past? Well, actually, yeah, I went through that transformation program. I wasn't fucking comfortable doing it, but I've done it. I've got great results, and I proved to myself I could be uncomfortable and thrive. Okay, cool. So I can do it in this situation as well. So
Right.
building the bank of evidence of shit that you're not comfortable with, so the next time you face an uncomfortable scenario, you can overcome it. Because as well, like this uncomfortable scenario to get into a body transformation is more of a choice to a degree, right? Like you decide whether you want to get uncomfortable. But there is going to be moments in life where you're going to be uncomfortable with no choice, right? Like natural things that happen to everybody, right? You're going to be in uncomfortable situations and you can't control it. So the more evidence you have and the more you can step outside your comfort zone, the more you're going to bulletproof yourself when it comes to those scenarios as well. So I could not agree with you more. Thank you so much for sharing all those knowledge bombs. I know everybody listening is going to feel a lot more comfortable to get uncomfortable, and I think I might even title it that. That's quite a good little title. It's quite, yeah. I think I
Love
might title it that as well.
it.
So from my end, I just want to say again a huge thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey as well. It's been incredible. Your work ethic is second to none, and the results you achieved are just byproducts of how fucking hard you've worked. Because like I say, it's not like you've just kind of ticked along and hit cruise control. You fucking grafted for the results you got. So you should be able to look in the mirror and go, do you know what? I'm a hard fucking worker and I crushed it. Right? So good work.
Well, thank you, Reese. I couldn't have done it without you, and it's been an honor to be on your show. Um, Amazing experience, and yeah, thank you for having me.
Pleasure. And for those listening, I know every now and again you post some stuff with fitness, and if they ever just want to check out anything that you do, where can they find you?
You can find me at Milan Mcmakin _ fit. I haven't posted anything for a while. That's on Instagram.
But there's a
But
lot of gold there
maybe
from the
I'll come
previous
back. I'll
month.
make a comeback. We'll see. But
I'll put it in
yeah,
the show notes anyway. But thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see everybody in the next episode.